By all available evidence, about 100,000 Russian troops have amassed on or distressingly near the Ukrainian border. An invasion of that vulnerable, fertile country on Europe's eastern fringe, out of whose black, nutrient-rich soil, vigorous, flaxen stalks of wheat and barley unhesitatingly spring, over whose tranquil, undulating beaches and coastlines the purifying tides of the Pontic Sea and Dnieper River gently exhale and spray their mists, seems to be all but imminent. Such an invasion would not be unexampled. Just 8 years ago, in the winter of 2014, Russian troops, allied with and reinforced by Muscovite partisans and Kremlin commandos, marched into and quickly took possession of Crimea, Ukraine's small, beautiful, southerly appendage over which, perhaps too complacently, Kiev thought herself to be absolutely sovereign. She soon learned that she was not. Since 2014, Crimea, that once proud, now hotly contested peninsula, has been, for all intents and purposes, the unlawful property of Russia, to whom it's been, for want of international support, adequate weaponry, domestic metal, and overall a more bellicose demeanor, subservient. That occurred during the second term of Barack Obama's presidency. During the first and only of his successor, Donald Trump, Russia's approach toward Ukraine was far more cautious, far muter. Indeed, the most we heard of Russia and Ukraine during Trump's presidency related to the former's spurious involvement in and contribution to his gaining high office, and the latter's telephone call regarding the Biden family's unseemly relationship with Burisma Holdings, a call over which President Trump was, for the first time, impeached. Now, with President Biden in office, Russia appears to be prepared to strike again. The interbellum of Trump is unraveling and quickly yielding to a resumption of the old hostilities with which President Biden, much like his Democratic predecessor, Barack Obama, will now have to deal. I'm reminded, as I watch with a mixture of concern and curiosity the unfolding of these disturbing events, the invasion of Melos, a small island in the Aegean Sea. Melos was and yet remains an inconsequential island in the Aegean Sea, a sparsely populated bit of earth equidistant to Athens and Crete. It's remembered today for its having been the site of the infamous Melian dialogue, that arresting exchange between Athens and Melos over such weighty matters as justice, virtue, and the brutal realism of power politics, by which the Peloponnesian War was, after the tenuous Peace of Nicias, savagely reignited. Melos, for the first decade of the war, maintained its neutrality. While ethnically Dorian, and thus, in its heart of hearts, sympathetic to the Spartan cause, it remained uninvolved in the ongoing conflict. Athens, an acquisitive, expanding, imperialistic force, wished to bring Melos into the Delian fold. It feared the possibility of Melos, at this point officially unallied with either side, renouncing its impartiality and joining the side of the detested Spartans. In this great dialogue, captured and embellished by Athens' own Thucydides, the Athenians tell the Melians that they must act with realism. For we both alike know that, in human reckoning, the question of justice only enters where there is equal power to enforce it, and that the powerful exact what they can, and the weak grant what they must. The Melians argued from justice, the Athenians from power. If military victory, rather than, say, moral probity, is going to be the measure by which we decide such questions, then, most assuredly, the Athenians won. They promptly besieged the island, ravaged the fields, enslaved the women and children, and put to the sword all men of fighting age. Granted, it's an imperfect historical analogy, but I see Ukraine as the modern-day Melos. Like Melos, Ukraine is stuck between two large and capable powers, between whom an undeclared state of war seems always to persist. Russia to the east, and America and Europe to the west. While many of its citizens are, indeed, ethnically more closely related to the former, a growing proportion of its enlightened sons and daughters are more ideologically, philosophically, and yes, enthusiastically inclined toward the west. Yet they haven't the power to resist Mother Russia, whose practice of intimidation, whose insensitivity to justice, whose deafness to virtue, and whose insatiability for more and more land are now being acutely felt. Russia, like Athens of the late 5th century BC, hopes, by invading a neutral country like Ukraine, to coerce her into the Kremlin's fold, and to preclude the possibility of her inching even a hair's breadth closer to the West. America and Europe, in this case, are playing the part of Sparta, an ally unpunctual at best, or perhaps even unwilling to intervene when needed. My perspicacity in such matters, I'm very glad to say, is yet to be proved, but if my understanding of history leads me not astray, I can foresee Ukraine being to Russia what poor Melos was to Athens. Thank you so much for watching this video, and to my brothers and sisters in Ukraine and Russia, to whom, somewhere in the tangles of my genes, I share a deep ancestral bond, I urge you to civility, fraternity, and peace. To everyone else, I ask you to subscribe to this channel and comment below.